Why do you do that? Why on earth are you playing with your stick? Don't do that. Oh. I mean, I'll say this. There are a ton of ghetto-ass 350Zs out there with Lamborghini doors, with shitty body kits, with garbage wheels. I mean, something about this car, people like to modify these and make them look way worse than the factory. Like awful garbage Walmart builds. Is a 350Z junk? Does anybody like these cars? Am I the only one that likes these cars? It's only a 6-cylinder. It's cheap plastic everywhere. It's old, tired. They made a ton of them. And the people that drive them. What is it about these cars? Oh, hear that? A Synchros. Will the 350Z ever be a collector's car? I mean, it's 21 years old now. Prices haven't shot up yet. There's a tremendous amount of cheap 350Zs for sale. It's a disaster. Why is that? Is it because of the fan base? The people that like these cars, that drive these cars? Is it because of the sounds that these cars make with exhaust, with all the bad straight pipes? Is it because of the cost to modify these cars? Because for a cheap car, it's pretty expensive to mod. A great exhaust on this car, if you go Motordyne, if you go catless, with the art pipes and shockwave, it's gonna cost a lot. It's not cheap. So what do people do? People straight pipe them, and they don't sound that great straight piped, as we all know too well. Because odds are, if you see a modified Z, it hasn't been modified in a tasteful way. I mean, what is it about these? Is it because it's a Nissan? It's a Nissan. It's not a Porsche. It's not a Ferrari. People can't get over the fact that it's a Nissan. Maybe because of the Ultima drivers? All those banged up, beat up Ultima drivers out there? Is that it? Look at other cars from its era that have started to go up in value, like the Honda 2000. The Honda 2000 in good shape is selling for a premium right now. The Z, a few years ago, a track edition with low mileage sold for like 26. Mileage was in the low 20s. I think it sold for 26,000. But a lot of these cars, even the ones in good shape with low mileage, only sell for $16,000, $17,000. When this car came out, it was an incredible car back in 2003. Performance was right up there with the Porsche 996 Carrera. And it was faster than some of the Boxsters. I mean, I'll say this, there are a ton of ghetto-ass 350Zs out there with Lamborghini doors, with shitty body kits, with garbage wheels. I mean, something about this car, people like to modify these and make them look way worse than the factory. Like awful garbage Walmart builds. It's like they go to Walmart and buy as much plastic as possible and tack it onto the car. I mean, there's nothing worse than fake Lamborghini doors, in my opinion. I cannot stand that. But you know what? A lot of these guys that are doing this, they're just kids, man. They're just kids. They don't have a lot of money. They love their car. They're passionate with it. And if that makes them happy, then you know what? That's cool, man. I'm not going to knock somebody for having Lamborghini doors on a 350Z. I mean, I might laugh a little, but hey, you know, I appreciate the passion, the car passion, the car hobby. They made a ton of 350Zs, but you really don't see them that often anymore. And when you go to a car show now, what do you see? 500 Mustangs, 500 Corvettes. You might only see a handful of 350Zs. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing, because eventually this market's going to turn around. And a lot of you are laughing. You're going to say this car will never be a collector's car. And maybe it never will be a collector's car. It's never going to be an exotic car, right? I mean, it is a Nissan. We've been over that. A lot of these cars are starting to disappear, and in another 5 or 10 years, people are going to have nostalgia for them, and they're going to want them. And the kids that had the shitty body kits, the Walmart rims or whatever, they're going to want a clean example, want to build it right, since they couldn't afford to do that when they were young. In the end, nostalgia will win. And this is a great car. It's reliable, it's dependable, it has good performance, it's cheap to insure. It has a lot of pros, a lot more pros than cons. It's a great back road car, man. It's a good size, it's under 3,300 pounds, well, 3,280, give or take. Analog, has just a tiny bit of tech. I've had this car since 2011, and I don't plan to sell it. It didn't give me any problems when I had it in storage. Granted, I took the best care of it that I could. I drove it, or if I wasn't around, I would have somebody else drive it for me. Keep it running, because you can't just let a car sit, obviously. Give it another 5 years, 10 years, guys. I'm telling you, these cars are going to start to really go up in value. What do you like better, the 350 or the 370? Or do you like the new Z? Because the new Z is turbo, but I mean, hey, everything's turbo these days. I have to say, the 350Z was one of the few cars that looked better than the concept. Remember the Z concept that came out? That thing was kind of And then the Z was launched and everyone was like, wow, that looks so much better than the concept. If we look at the third generation Camaro and Fox body Mustang, cars from the 80s that were very, very popular and had huge followings. And then what happened? Then they got older. When they were 10, 15, 20 years old, nobody wanted them. They were junk. You couldn't sell them. And now they're going for premiums. Clean Fox bodies are going for crazy amounts of money. Clean third generation Camaros too. I just saw a third gen Camaro, a really clean 350 car that I think sold for over $100,000. Crazy money for a third. Who would have ever thought that a third gen Camaro would have ever gone for that much? And granted, it was a museum piece, but still. And I think that's going to happen with the Z. I think the Z is a modern version of those cars. It really is kind of hard to say what will and what won't be a collector's item, because we've seen cars that no one ever thought would be a collector's item become collector pieces. And there's so many limited production cars now, especially in the exotic market. I mean, it's obscene, really. I mean, how many limited edition Porsches and Ferraris does there need to be? It's insanity. I mean, if everything is a limited edition, is anything really limited? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it used to be they made like 300 Ferraris or 500 Ferraris for a specific model, and then that was it. Now they're making thousands and thousands, or even tens and thousands of them a year. And they're selling. I mean, and that, again, that's a different market, but still, is it really a collector's item if they're making that many models? And if the manual transmission really does disappear, then these cars ultimately will go up in value. Clean examples will hold a premium. And it's probably going to take at least another 5 to 10 years before that happens. One of my favorite things about the Z is that the engine doesn't overpower the chassis in this car. And we see a lot of that nowadays, and computer aids just make up for it, but then people turn the traction control off and then they run into a ditch. Because just about every car that comes out that way, at least your entry-level sports cars, your average sports cars, the engine with the turbos will outperform the chassis. The chassis won't be able to handle it, or the driver for that matter. It's the driver. But with these lower horsepower cars, naturally aspirated cars, you don't have that problem. You can have a little more fun. Why do you do that? Why on earth are you playing with your stick? Don't do that. Don't do that. Ah! Man, people will comment about every little tiny thing you do. Oh, you're riding your clutch. You've got your headlights on. You're playing with your stick. You're playing with your stick. But hey, I appreciate it. So if you guys want to roast me, go ahead and roast me in the comments. It just gets me more views, so I'm ready for it. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.